Golden State Media Concepts bring you Book Review Podcast, a haven for bookworms of all ages and the widest genres, from mystery to memoirs, romance to comedy, fantasy to sci-fi. If you love to read, this is a podcast for you. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast.
By the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sarah, and I am so glad it's Friday and ready for the weekend. Hope you had a wonderful week and that you've got some good plans coming up for this weekend. We are here, of course, to talk about books, and I would like to talk about a young adult series today. Written by Ali Carter. It is the Gallagher Girl series. There are 6 books along with a prequel and then a novella after the 6th book. So 6 books and 2 novellas, maybe, I guess you could say. I think the prequel is probably novella length. So I came to this series because of, again, Audible Originals. And again, no, they are not, I'm not endorsing them. This is just, I'm letting you know where I find things. It was one of the free selections that you get each month. And I saw the prequel and ordered that and really enjoyed it, so wanted to go check out the rest of the series, and it is a lot of fun. Think Harry Potter meets either Alias or Covert Affairs meets Gilmore Girls, and that's maybe a description of what this series is. Is there magic like Harry Potter? No, but it is a private school. There are hidden passageways. There are all kinds of crazy things that happen, all kinds of adventures. So that's kind of where I felt the Harry Potter-esque, the Harry Potter-ness came in. There's several times when I was like, this is so Harry Potter without the magic. If it, instead of magic, you had spies. Because yes, this is, as you see from the title of this episode, a school for spies. And I know some of you out there are thinking, the Gallagher Girls series, does it have to be girls? Can't we call them young women? I agree. Yes, absolutely. But in this case, it is true. They are girls. This is a school of 7th through 12th grades, so they are all minors, so technically girls. And yes, you could still call them young women, of course, but they use the term girls to their advantage because everyone's always underestimating them. Nobody expects a 7th grader to know the things that they teach at the Gallagher Academy. So they fully claim that title of girl because they know that it means people are going to underestimate them. So the first book in this series is called I'd Tell You I Love You, But Then I'd Have to Kill You. And this introduces us to the series, to the characters, to the Gallagher Academy for exceptional young women. And it starts when the main character, Cammie Morgan, is in 10th grade. So to backtrack a little bit, the prequel actually talks about her first days at the Gallagher Academy when she's in 7th grade. So you can start there, or you can start when she's in 10th grade and then go back to 7th grade. Really, I think either way works. I started with 7th grade, and then as I was reading, there were a few things that I already sort of knew from the prequel, but I didn't feel like I ruined anything by listening to the prequel first. So the synopsis for I'd Tell You I Love You, But Then I'd Have to Kill You by Ali Carter. The Gallagher Academy for Exceptional Young Women is a fairly typical all-girls school. That is, if every school teaches advanced martial arts in PE, chemistry always consists of the latest in chemical warfare, and everyone breaks CIA code for extra credit in computer class. So, in truth, while the Gallagher Academy might say it's a school for geniuses, what they really mean is spies. But what happens when a Gallagher girl falls for a boy who doesn't have a code name? Cammie Morgan may be fluent in 14 languages and capable of killing a man in 7 different ways, 3 of which involve a piece of uncooked spaghetti. But the Gallagher Academy hasn't prepared her for what to do when she meets an ordinary boy who thinks she's an ordinary girl. Sure, she can tap his phone, hack into his computer, and track him through a mall without him ever being the wiser, but can she have a regular relationship with a regular boy who can never know the truth about her? Cammie may be an elite spy in training, but in her sophomore year, she's doing something riskier than ever. She's falling in love. So a couple notes on that synopsis. First, the line about killing a man with a piece of uncooked spaghetti, that comes up throughout the series. Carter just likes to throw that in. I don't know if it's kind of a personal or a running joke for her, or if there's some story behind it, or really if there are ways to kill someone with a piece of uncooked spaghetti. Frankly, I'm not going to Google that because I don't need that in my search history. And then... So Cammie, what it also doesn't tell you is that Cammie is a student at the Gallagher Academy. Her mother is also the headmistress, so that creates some interesting dual relationships when your mom is the headmistress and when you are sneaking out to meet a boy. The school is located in Virginia, and it's near a town, Roseville, actually, which was cracking me up because I live in the Sacramento area, and there is a Roseville, so I kept conflating the two in my mind. Roseville, Virginia. So Cammie is actually doing an assignment for school when she is in Roseville and meets this boy. His name is Josh, and he sees her, which is very strange because Cammie's nickname is the Chameleon. She is a street artist, they call her. Somebody who can just blend in wherever she is. She can blend in, no problem. She has no problem in the covert part of her training. She blends in. She is hard to find. She's hard to spot. Even some of her classmates and teachers have trouble finding her when she decides to blend in, but Josh sees her. And so this makes her intrigued, makes her interested. And of course, she's a sophomore. She's in 10th grade. Of course she's going to be interested in a cute boy who pays attention to her. So this starts a whole series of her sneaking out of school and, sneaking out of school like maybe a typical teenager, but not a typical teenager. She and her suite mates, there are 3 of them. So the 4 of them, as it says, tap his phone. They hack into his email. They steal the family's mail, or not mail, trash, and go through it so they can learn more about him and the family. I mean, it's a little over the top, but they are using the skills that they're being taught. And so you get, when I said earlier, covert affairs or Alias, geez, why can't I say that, meets Harry Potter. You can see where I'm getting, the spy aspect and the private school aspect, that close group of friends. There's a character who reminded me so much of Hermione because she is super, super, super smart. Although she's way klutzier than Hermione is. She's don't worry, she's not going onto the spy track. She's definitely going into research and development. But you've got that character. There are some hilarious secondary characters throughout the school. The teachers have all of their own quirks. So anyway, that's the Hogwarts relation and the spy relation. But then I also said meets Gilmore Girls. There's tons of pop culture references throughout this book, and also you get that kind of, it's obviously a teenager and her mom. They don't live in a quaint little town. They live near a quaint little town. But they are kind of going through life and figuring things out. And it is a teenage daughter who is very, very smart and very, very capable. But like many teenagers, she is having issues with a boy. So that, that is the theme of this book. So you get to see her as the extraordinary young woman that she is, a spy in training, and you also get to see Cammie as the very ordinary young woman that she also is, because she has, she likes a boy and a boy likes her, and what does that mean? And how? Fortunately, her new suite mate is fluent in boy. That's what they keep saying. They actually have a boy to English dictionary that they're putting together. So they have this whole experiment going on of how to interpret what boys say, and Macy is the expert on that. So all of the roommates come with their own special sets of skills. But we are going to take the first break of our podcast. When we come back, we'll be talking a little bit more about this series by Ali Carter. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I'll be right back.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast. Today I am speaking about the Gallagher Girls series by Ali Carter. It is about young women who are going to spy school, like you do. And I gave you the synopsis and a little bit of detail about the first book. I don't want to give too many spoilers in case you haven't read it. And I should say that the first book came out in 2006. So it's not like I would be giving spoilers, 13 years, but I hadn't read it, so maybe you haven't read it. There are millions of books out there that we haven't read, so I still don't want to give any spoilers, but there are some themes that continue. The themes of friendship, of finding your way, of learning to be a spy. The four sweetmates continue to go on spying adventures. Cameron is the center of those, of course, is the main character. She continues trying to figure out her relationship in terms of her mom as a spy. Her mom is the headmistress because her mom is also a former spy. What it means to be a teenage girl who knows how to kill somebody with an uncooked piece of spaghetti, etc. And her friends are also finding their way. We learn a little bit more about their backstories, and there is an overarching story throughout the next 5 books that you don't find out about in the first book, and that is a secret society and a plot and all kinds of things. And again, I don't want to give too much away, but we also find out that there are other spy schools, and we come into contact with some of those students, and you can imagine what happens. The theme of boys continues. How are you a teenager and a spy and someone who is interested in dating, whether that's boys, girls, whatever? How does that work? High school was bad enough without learning to kill people with uncooked spaghetti. Yeah, I'm going to keep making that reference because the books keep making that reference. High school is hard enough, but hey, at least this school has secret passages that you can slip into and hide from reality sometimes. But a little bit more about Ali Carter, because she was a new author to me. Maybe you have read all of her books and know about her, but the biography from her website, it says that she grew up in Oklahoma. She was born and raised in Oklahoma. Her mother was a teacher and her father a farmer and rancher. In the biography, then it's written in first person, so I'll just read that. I have one older sister. In high school, I was very active in a number of student organizations and graduated as co-valedictorian of my senior class. Then I attended Oklahoma State University and Cornell University and worked for several years in the agricultural industry before writing full-time. My first novel, Cheating at Solitaire, was published in 2005. The following year, I published the sequel to Solitaire, Learning to Play Gin. There are no more plans for future books in that series at this time. And then she talks about the the Gallagher Girl series, a couple of other books that she's written. She says, my books have been published in more than 20 countries and have appeared on bestseller lists from the New York Times, USA Today, The Wall Street Journal, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, and BookScan. They have sold over 2 million copies in the United States. I am one of the luckiest people in the world, and today I am able to do the job I wanted to do when I was a kid, and I am back living in Oklahoma. So a little bit about Allie. I skipped over some of that middle stuff about the books because it turns out she has another series, and it's also spy related. I have not read that one, but then as I was going through this, I read that there is a crossover book between the Heist series, I think it's called, and the Gallagher Girls series. So in January 2013, she published that crossover. It's a novella. It's called Double Crossed, and it features characters from both the Gallagher Girls and Heist Society. So it's also available for free at spiesandthieves.com. Also, that novella that I mentioned that is the follow-up to the Gallagher Girls series is available on Allie's website to read for free if you decide to pursue this. So since we're on the subject of girls and spies and books and series, let's check out and see what the Heist Society is all. It's also called the Embassy Row books, so it's listed both ways on her website. The first is called All Fall Down. Grace Blakely is absolutely certain of 3 things. 1, she is not crazy. 2, her mother was murdered. 3, someday she is going to find the killer and make him pay. As certain as Grace is about these facts, nobody else believes her, so there's no one that she can completely trust. Not her grandfather, a powerful ambassador, not her new friends, who all live on Embassy Row, not Alexei, the Russian boy next door who is keeping an eye on Grace for reasons she neither likes nor understands. Everybody wants Grace to put on a pretty dress and a pretty smile, blocking out all her unpretty thoughts. But they can't control Grace, no more than Grace can control what she knows or what she needs to do. Her past has come back to hunt her, and if she doesn't stop it, Grace isn't the only one who will get hurt. Because on Embassy Row, the countries of the world all stand like dominoes, and one wrong move can make them all fall down. So a little different, of course, as you would expect a series to be, but you can see how those 2 series could definitely cross over. And now, I'm going to have to eventually read or listen to this series. It is 3 books as opposed to the 6 of the other. All Fall Down, See How They Run, Take the Key, and Lock Her Up. So that is the oh, goodness. No. I just read you the completely wrong thing. I don't even know what I was thinking. So I got confused in terms of Heist Society versus Embassy Row. I just read you Embassy Row. That does not cross over with the Gallagher Girl series. I don't know exactly. Yeah, just pardon my brain. Okay, Heist Society. Let's talk about this. When Katerina Bishop was 3, her parents took her on a trip to the Louvre to case it. For her 7th birthday, Katerina and her uncle Eddie traveled to Austria to steal the crown jewels. When Kat turned 15, she planned a con of her own, scamming her way into the best boarding school in the country, determined to leave the family business behind. Unfortunately, leaving the life for a normal life proves harder than she'd expected. Soon, Kat's friend and former co-conspirator Hale appears out of nowhere to bring Kat back into the world she tried so hard to escape. But he has a good reason. A powerful mobster has been robbed of his priceless art collection and wants to retrieve it. Only a master thief could have pulled this job, and Kat's father isn't just on the suspect list, he is the list. Caught between Interpol and a far more deadly enemy, Kat's dad needs her help. For Kat, there is only one solution: track down the paintings and steal them back. So what if it's a spectacularly impossible job? She's got 2 weeks, a teenage crew, and hopefully just enough talent to pull off the biggest heist in her family's history. And with any luck, steal her life back along the way. Okay, so again, I can still see how this would cross over with the Gallagher Girls series. And there are 3 novels in this or maybe, let's see. Oh, sorry, 4. Has a different cover than the others. So Heist Society, Uncommon Criminals, Perfect Scoundrels, and The Gift of the Magi is the 4th. And you can kind of see where I was confused by that different cover. And The Gift of the Magi, of course, is a short story. Anyway, that gives you an idea. There are other books on her website. There is a standalone called Not If I Save You First that involves more, sounds like espionage. Well, not espionage. That's not the word I'm looking for, but adventure. And, Maddie is the main character in this one, and her dad is a Secret Service agent. Her best friend is the president's son. So then, long story short, I'll just read it to you. Before she knows it, Maddie's dad is dragging her to a cabin in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness and into a totally different life. No phone, no internet, and not a single word from Logan. That's it's her best friend. Maddie tells herself it's okay. After all, she's the most popular girl for over 20 miles in any direction. She's also the only girl in 20 miles in any direction. She has wood to cut and weapons to bedazzle. Her life is full. Until Logan shows up 6 years later, and Maddie wants to kill him. But before that can happen, an assailant appears out of nowhere, knocking Maddie down a cliff and dragging Logan to some unknown fate. Maddie knows she could turn back and get help, but the weather is turning and the terrain will only get more treacherous, the animals more deadly. Maddie still really wants to kill Logan, but she has to save him first. So, from the series that I've read and the synopses that I've read of the other series and books, you can tell that I can tell, maybe you can tell as well, that Allie Carter definitely writes books about very strong, very interesting, somewhat different young women who do things that probably seem impossible, but I actually kind of like those books where the main characters do things that seem impossible to me because it's fiction and I want to escape and I enjoy that. So we have, it sounds like even in the Heist series, teams of teenagers doing things that seem like adults shouldn't even be doing them. But let's go ahead and take our second break of the podcast. And when we come back, we will be wrapping up this episode about Spy Girls. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast. On this episode about spy girls, or girls who spy, or girls who do incredible things involving spying or heisting or espionage or something along those lines, or bedazzling weapons. Hey, I'm going to say it, killing people with uncooked spaghetti. So as often happens when I am doing an episode like this, I like to look and find out what other books are out there that I haven't, maybe I know them, maybe I don't. And Goodreads is a great place for lists. I don't know who puts these book lists together, but Goodreads has millions of lists about teenage spy girls. And it's contemporary young adult books featuring female teenage spies. And I mention this because the first 1 to, 5, 6, keep going. The first 8 are all Allie Carter books, either the Gallagher Girls or the Heist Society books. And then number 9 is by a different author, and then you get 10 and 11 are by Allie Carter. Let's see, 12 or 13 is Allie Carter. So this is a very Allie Carter centric list. But what do you have a favorite book or series about young people who spy? It doesn't have to be young girls. I'm curious now because I can think of things that, like not exactly on the lines of this in terms of a spy school, but there's Harriet the Spy. There's, of course, Nancy Drew, who's not exactly a spy. She's a detective, so I don't know if that falls in the same category, but there are mysteries, and she solves them. Trixie Belden would be in there, too, in terms of not a spy, but solving mysteries. What else is on this list? There's a series called Two Lies and a Spy. That's by Kat Carlton. There's a series called The Specialists by Shannon Greenland. Wondering if any of you have read this. There's a book called Spies and Prejudice. I'm hoping that is similar to Pride and Prejudice, but don't know that for sure. Let me click on it. Barry Fields is not looking for a boyfriend. She's busy trailing cheaters and liars in her job as a private investigator, collecting evidence of the affairs she's sure all men commit. And thanks to a pepper spray incident during an 8th grade game of Spin the Bottle, the guys at her school are not exactly lining up to date her either. So when arrogant and gorgeous Tanner Halston rolls into town and calls her nothing amazing, it's no loss for Barry. She'll forget him in no time. She's more concerned with the questions surfacing about her mother's death. But why does Tanner seem to pop up everywhere in her investigation, always getting in her way? Is he trying to stop her from discovering the truth or protect her from an unknown threat? And why can't Barry remember to hate him when he looks into her eyes? Yes, with a playful nod to Jane Austen, Spies and Prejudice will captivate readers as love and espionage collide. One of these days I need to do an episode on Jane Austen and another episode on all of the books based on Jane Austen. Holy cow, there are so many books that are loosely either based on the books or about the books, or wow, just amazing. I've read many of them, but let's see. There are what other series do we have? The Ghost Bird by C.L. Stoner is a series. There's Two Lies and a Spy again. Jessica Cole, Model Spy, is a series by Sarah Skye. I like that rhymes. Jessica Cole, Model Spy by Sarah Skye. Spy Goddess, and all these have numbers in them, so they strike me as The Adventures of Sarah Ann Lewis and the Memory Thieves, Joshua C. Carroll. I feel like I've heard that, but I do not know why. Anyway, my question for you is, what are your favorite spy books? Have you read this particular spy series? If not, did you read, as a young adult, did you read young adult spy books? As an adult, do you like spy books? What are your thoughts? I would love to hear your suggestions. Whenever I do these and I see lists, I fall down a rabbit hole of, I should put that on my list. I should put that on my list. I should put that on my list. I'm always doing that. And my list is both fictional and hugely long because I don't actually, I have lists plural. I have multiple lists. I was in the airport last week. I was in the bookstore wandering around, and whenever I see a book that I think looks interesting, I take a picture with it on my phone. So that's a list. I have my Amazon wish list. Wherever I see a book that I think looks interesting, I put it on my wish list. I just have lists in various places. There's lists in my head. I'm sure I've written things down and I have no idea where those lists are, but yeah, the TBR list is not a list. It's lists. It is vast. It is infinite. It will never, ever be read in its entirety. And that's okay because I'll constantly have something to strive for. Anyway, that I think is enough of my rambling about spies and girls who spy and spy schools and boarding schools and secret passages and all of those fun things. But if you are if you are a young adult and you're looking for a series, or if you have young adults who are looking for series, or you just like to read young adult, which, hey, nothing wrong with that. I do it all the time. Then this might be a series that you want to check out because, as I said, I mean, if Hogwarts, if Harry Potter, Alias, and the Gilmore Girls had a baby and it was a book series, I think it would be this series, the Gallagher Girl series by Allie Carter. So there you go, and I hope you will join me again on Tuesday when I will be speaking with author Stephen Cooper about the third novel in his Gus Parker and Alex Mills series. We are going back to mystery, thriller, police procedural, etc. So join me on Tuesday for that conversation. In the meantime, hope you have a wonderful weekend that gives you plenty of time to get yourself lost in a good book.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.